As I said at the top of the show, we have a special guest with us today. We have State Treasurer Dale Folwell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Treasurer Folwell, you were, of course, also Assistant Secretary of Commerce. You were 2 years as Speaker Pro Tem in the House, and you and I chatted before. You also served for 4 terms, or 8 years, on the Winston-Salem Forsyth School Board. So you know of what you speak when it comes to school funding and education.
I do.
So thank you so much for being here. All right, I want to get right to it. It's been in the news over the last couple of weeks. Your office made some announcements related to health insurance premiums going up for state employees and teachers. Tell me a little bit about sort of what the announcement was and why.
Well, thank you for having me, and your viewers will remember that we had a terrific state treasurer by the name of Harlan Bowles who wrote a book called The Keeper of the Public Purse. In that book, Treasurer Bowles says the state treasurer has more constitutional and statutory responsibilities and duties than any other elected official in the state, except for the governor. The reason I think that's important to your viewers is that next to a person's faith, their family, and their health, in many instances across North Carolina, the state pension plan and the state health plan are the 2 most important things in their life.
Right.
Anytime that you're the state treasurer, it's important to really just think about yoga, and that is to breathe and pay attention to your mat. And our mat right now is to figure out how we're going to preserve and strengthen the state health plan and the state pension plan. We have an option of speaking about these subjects emotionally or politically, but I'm going to speak about them mathematically.
Okay.
The state health plan has a $42 billion liability. Now, that $42 billion comes from the fact that for decades, people have been eligible for health insurance benefits both while they were active and retired, but no money was ever been put aside in reserves, unlike the pension plan, for all of those eligibility and all those issues regarding the state health plan. As a matter of fact, the state health plan is going to run out of reserves in about 26 to 36 months. The state health plan is going to get probably a bigger appropriation this year than the entire university system. Wow. So this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm the 28th treasurer of North Carolina, or it doesn't matter who the 28th treasurer was going to be. It has to do with mathematics.
And so you're talking about, when you say the liability, you're talking about to be able to continue to cover and provide the benefits both to existing state workers, but also, and we're going to get into this,
yes,
the retiree benefits. So just for our viewers, what was announced, that the state has traditionally had a no premium plan option, which is
correct,
going away. It'll be now $25 a month. And then I guess the 80-20 plan, folks who are now, we've all learned more about insurance over the last few years than maybe
sure,
we ever cared to, is going to be going up, about tripling, I think, in cost from 15 to 50, somewhere along there.
correct.
Okay.
So the 70-30 plan will have a $25 per month premium, and the 80-20 option will have a $50 per month premium. But what I've told the stakeholders and the people of North Carolina is that now it becomes my job to make sure that those premiums do not change over the next 4 years.
Okay.
Now that's a heavy lift. Secondly, what's been happening over the years is that there's been a lot of trickery where the premiums may not have gone up or been established at all, but co-pays have gone up, co-insurance have gone up, formularies have gone up.
Right.
We're the largest purchaser of health care in North Carolina. We should be able to do it better and more efficiently on behalf of teachers, troopers, and other state employees.
Yeah, I think all of us have been through that, where again, even the premiums haven't gone up. Of course, they've all gone up, both, whether depending on no matter where you work, but it's that copay stuff, and medicines that suddenly get changed from a different tier, and all of a sudden your out of pockets go way through the roof. So you're going to try to get a handle on that.
Yeah, we have many state employees this year who have, if they choose the family premium, are going to have to work 5 days out of every work month to pay the family premium on the state health plan, based on the entry-level job salary of a trooper and a teacher. The fact is, we can do it better and more efficiently. We have one of the worst records in the United States in terms of families on our state health plan. Probably less than 9% of our families are on the state health plan. Right. So what we end up with is people my age and above.
So it's employee only most, so that's what the employee only is what most state employees do, because from at least what I understand is that the family part is cost prohibitive in their view.
That's correct.
Okay.
And we can do that better. We can tip the balance of this plan so that we can attract younger, healthier people to the plan, and I think that puts us on the course of preserving and strengthening the state health plan. And part of the charter as the head of the state health plan is for it to be financially sustainable, But right now, there's no certainty with the General Assembly, with the taxpayers, with the teachers, with the stakeholders. We need to bring trust and certainty back to this relationship.
So after this, so let me, okay, we're going to shift gears real quick. Retirees. One of the things that we often hear is people go into state government because while maybe the pay isn't what they might get in the private sector, there's the pension and there are benefits. A lot of discussion of whether that's going to go away. Do you see the state walking away from a commitment on retiree health benefits and pension?
Well, right now I'm dealing with the income statement, and I think what you're referring to is bills that have been filed regarding in the legislature.
Right.
I'm here to preserve and strengthen the defined benefit plan and the defined contribution plan. And right now, preserve and strengthening it means what are we going to do to keep ourselves in business next year, the year after, the year after. Now, I want to be clear that our pension plan is one of the best funded pension plans in the United States. But one reason it's one of the best funded is that we assume a rate of return in that plan that we had not achieved on average this century. And I think there's less than a 25% chance we're going to achieve 7.25% for the next 15 years. So your funded level is precipitated by what rate of return you assume you're going to earn.
Right.
So when you assume you're going to earn a higher rate of return, your funded level looks really good.
Right.
I think our funded level is probably realistically in the mid-80s. When Harlan Bowles left the Treasurer's office, it was 110% funded.
Okay. Let me. I'm sorry. We're almost out of time for your segment, but I did want to ask you as we close up. We're going to be talking to our next guest about what is an $8 billion in needs for infrastructure. Now, that's a local responsibility, but there are some bills out there. You got any thoughts in terms of things like leasing options and other ideas of how the locals are going to be able to fund that kind of an amount? And does the state have a role?
Well, my thoughts haven't changed, and that's sort of what happens sometimes is that you have candidates who say one thing, then when they get into office, they do something else. We have to find long-term solutions to constructing public schools in North Carolina, especially in our rural areas, many of those areas are depopulating. And that's what I've told all the stakeholders along the lines of this subject. But the fact is it's important that we don't do a patch quilt system where we're doing something in this part of the state and something else in this part of the state.
Yeah, that makes it. I'm sorry, but we are out of time. We need to bring you back. We've got so much more to talk about. But we're going to have
so many more props.
I know you've got the most well-prepared guest we've ever had. So thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Before we go to break, see if you can answer this question. When the North Carolina lottery began in 2006, 40% of the proceeds were dedicated to local school construction needs. What percentage of lottery proceeds go to school construction today?